Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy, Atypical Security Guard, coming to you from the Security Guard channel, and this is episode 3 of the Security Guard Radio podcast. Guys, listen, I want to thank you so much for your feedback. I'm getting all of your messages, all of your comments, everything that you're saying on YouTube, and the response has been pretty good. So we will continue with this format. I really appreciate you guys reaching out and being a part of what we're doing. Remember, what we're doing here, this is a community. It's not about me. It's about all of us. So I need you guys to participate. When I ask a question, when I post something, I want that feedback. It's not an echo chamber. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear what you think about what I'm saying. I want to hear your perspective. Because guys, we all live such different lives. We're all in different places all across the country. Security for me, security for you, what you guys are experiencing, it's different, right? So if you're all sharing your perspective, if you're all giving your opinion, this is going to be a better place to help educate, motivate, train, and inform new and willingly there to learn security guards across the board, and that's what we want. So I want to thank you guys so much for what you've been doing, what you continue to do, and what we're going to do moving forward. Today we're going to talk about the 5 states of awareness that lead to fear and anxiety. I've talked to you guys before. I've told you, I've been very transparent. Fear, anxiety, depression, things that I deal with. I've dealt with those issues long before I got into security, and a part of getting into this industry was basically to kind of face those fears, face that anxiety head on, and I think I've been pretty successful to start with, but it's something that I deal with on a daily basis, guys, just that general sense of anxiety, that general sense of fear, and I think that I was able to boil it down to like 5 issues of awareness. If you're like me, if you're an empathetic person, if you're a naturally sympathetic person, if you care about other people, you tend to feel things a little bit more than your average person. I think that's good for law enforcement. I think that that's good for security because we need to be in positions where we're willing to help people and also understand what they're going through, where they're coming from, kind of what they're battling. I think that that's kind of what's needed and what's missing in law enforcement. But that being said, it can also mean that you take on a lot of the emotions of the things that you're dealing with. You know, it kind of weighs on you. It's hard for you. So I was able to kind of reflect on these things and some of the problems that I've had in the past and some of the things I'm dealing with, you know, in the industry right now. And I was able to kind of reduce it to 5 things, 5 states of awareness. The first one is going to be imposter awareness, right? That imposter syndrome. Why me, right? When I got into security, as a career, I've always kind of done it on the side in the peripheral. When I was in the military, working in corrections, working as a constable, law enforcement and security has always kind of been a side gig, right? But in 2020, I made this my career. I decided to go, full board, balls deep, and get right into it and do this as a career. And as I've learned, and as I've trained, as I've sought out information, I've tried to become better at what I'm doing. I can't get past this point where, I'm 43, approaching 44, and at times I just have this imposter syndrome. Even with this YouTube channel, guys, listen, I know a lot of you tell me, look, we follow you, we listen to you, we come here for information, and you're doing a great job. I've had people tell me that they, enjoy the videos that I make, they enjoy the podcast, but there's times where I just don't feel like I'm worthy to be doing this or sharing this message, or that I know enough to be teaching, right? And I find that to be the case working in security as well. There are times where I just don't feel like I know enough. I don't feel like I'm trained well enough. I don't feel like I'm the person that should have the responsibility of protecting people or protecting property or being in a situation where, I'm looked to for guidance. That imposter syndrome, guys, I'm sure that you've dealt with it before, you've felt it before, maybe not in security, but in some aspect of your life, right? I have failed so many times in my life, guys. I've made so many mistakes. I've lost so much in my life that whenever I'm doing something and I'm doing it well, or I'm kind of successful to any degree, I tend to go through this imposter syndrome feeling, this feeling of awareness of not measuring up in my own mind, or not being able to measure up like I should in other people's mind. And that leads to a lot of ways that I've kind of self-sabotaged myself or been detrimental to myself. I've done some horrible things in the past to derail my success. And with this career in security, I'm trying to be very aware of that. And when it starts to creep up, I'm very, very lucky that I reach out to my wife and I say, look, I'm having a bad day. I'm feeling this way. And she's able to kind of talk me back and make sure that I feel comfort and I feel secure, you know? So having that support system and also just recognizing these things. But that number one state of awareness would be imposter syndrome awareness, right? Number two is going to be environmental awareness. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean knowing where I am. I talk so much about the absurdity of Portland. And guys, this couldn't be any more of a upside down, backwards place. I can't even begin to tell you just the lunacy with which Portland operates and is run. The things that I see that are just, naturally known to be wrong, whether that's legalizing methamphetamine, legalizing heroin, giving out needles to the homeless community, allowing the homeless community to camp and prop up anywhere, stores allowing homeless people to steal with impunity, police officers who are afraid to do their job, afraid to intervene when someone is stealing or someone is destroying or burning. The things that I have seen over the past 2 years, guys, it's been very, very difficult for me because I try to carry myself as a good person. I'm a veteran. I'm a patriot. I love this country. I fought for this country. I got injured for this country, and working in security, I want to help people. I want to be there for people. But oftentimes, a part of my post orders are to not intervene. And that's very, very difficult for me. It's difficult for me as a man. It's difficult for me as someone who cares about this country, someone who cares about my fellow citizens. And that's very, very difficult. The understanding of the environment in that doing the right thing in Portland as a police officer or as a person could very well lead to you being in trouble. Intervening in some way, doing something that goes against the protected class status of the homeless community here, that could land you in jail or in deep trouble. Or at the very least, it could cost you your job. And that's very difficult. It's very difficult to understand that that's where I am and that's the society in which I've chosen to live. And it's very, very difficult to do my job on a daily basis, trying to operate within a position where I need to do the right thing for my job. In order for me to help people, I need to do the right thing. But knowing that doing the right thing could ultimately lead to my dismissal or me getting in a lot of trouble. That's very, very hard for me to reconcile, and that leads to a lot of anxiety on a daily basis for me. Number 3 is unpredictability. We talked about this with that Will Smith, Chris Rock situation, right? In security, our job is unpredictable. A lot of the problems, a lot of the things that we deal with, we don't see them coming. They kind of come out of nowhere. That's literally why we're there, right? To kind of mitigate that, to kind of deal with that when it happens. But that unpredictability of not knowing when something is going to happen, but you understand that if you work long enough, you put in enough hours, you take enough shifts, you clock in enough, sooner or later something will happen, but you don't know what you don't know. And what you don't know is what that thing that's going to happen is going to be. Now, again, some people, they operate, kind of like an ostrich with their head in the sand, or they don't have a empathetic or sympathetic, view of the world, and they just kind of take it as it comes. And I'm very jealous of those kind of people. I'm not that kind of a person. I think about everything. I analyze everything. I worry about everything. And that has its pros and its cons. And one of the cons is that the unpredictability of security leads to fear and anxiety. Okay. And again, when I say this, guys, it doesn't lead to a fear and anxiety that keeps me from doing my job, but it's there. And for people who live and operate under this same fear and anxiety that I do, I'm talking to you. There's going to be people that this doesn't resonate with, and that's okay. All right. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, I think we can all relate to. That's outside responsibilities. The awareness of what your responsibilities are to your family, in a greater sense to your community, maybe for some of you to your country, right? I just purchased a house. I know what that mortgage payment is. I'm in a relationship with a beautiful woman. I have an obligation to not only provide for her, but to make sure that she's well taken care of. I have children. I have a dog. I have cats, right? That understanding that every single month you have that bill that comes due. But not just that, thinking about taking care of your family in the future, thinking about retirement, thinking about, God forbid, if something were to happen, how you would provide or take care of things, making sure that your house is in order, right? We take that for granted because as men, we're supposed to do that. And we don't really have a lot of opportunities to stress about it publicly. It's not really okay for us to complain about our responsibilities, and we shouldn't. But that doesn't mean that we don't feel that fear, feel that anxiety, or that worry about having to make sure that you're coming up with that nut every single month, and that you're planning for the future and you're setting yourself up, to be successful when you get into that old age. And for me, at 43, 44, that day is getting a lot closer. So that leads to a lot of anxiety. It does. The 5th thing is mortality. Now, I went through my entire 6 years in the military without directly seeing anyone die. I've gone through my entire life, without witnessing death firsthand. But after working in security for 2 years, just at a grocery store, I've seen 2 people die. I've seen 2 people overdose. I've been there when multiple other people have overdosed and come so close to not making it. Seeing death up close leads to fear and anxiety. I'm aware of that mortality. Not just that, but I'm aware that in 2 or 3 situations, I've dislocated my shoulder. My knee hurts. I've got back problems. I'm getting older, guys. In every potential hands-on situation, every potential fight, it gives me a fear of what could happen and how that could lead to an issue where I can't work and I can't provide. Or, God forbid, I get into a situation where I lose my life. That happens. We talk about it all the time. We've all seen the stories. We've all seen the videos. We've read the headlines. It happens. Security guards die every single day. And understanding that if you're going to do this job, specifically if you're doing this job as an armed guard or an unarmed guard, and you're working in some of these more dangerous locations or dangerous gigs, it's a very real possibility. And if you're thinking about that, it can lead to fear and anxiety. But what do you do? How do you keep going? What makes you show up? And that, I think, is the most important thing that I want you guys to take away from all this. These are things that I deal with on a daily basis. These are problems, these are issues that I'm honest about. But what I want you to take away from this is not necessarily what I'm sharing with you in terms of what causes my fear and my anxiety. What I want you to take away from this is what keeps me going, what makes me show up. And it's understanding that there is a necessity to us being there. Cops are leaving in droves. They're not doing their job. They're deciding to not do what they're hired to do. District attorneys are not doing their job. Mayors are not doing their job. Our political system, our leaders, quote unquote, are not doing their job. And somebody has to be there. Somebody has to be the in-between between the bad guy and the people that are just trying to provide for themselves and their families. And that's where we come in as fucking security guards. That's what makes us so necessary. That's what makes us needed. And deciding that you're going to show up regardless of all the things that I've just talked about. Just like that quote from 300. You either come back with your shield or on it. That's the important thing that I want you guys to take away from this. Not the fears that I have, not the issues that I deal with on a daily basis, but the fact that despite all of that, I fucking clock in every single day. Because guys, we're needed. If not for us, then who? Because we are the first responders before the first responders even get the call. And that's what I want you guys to remember. This has been episode 3 of the Security Guard Radio podcast. And again, guys, I cannot thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to say this stuff to you, to talk to you, and to share this time with you. Because we are a community. It's not about me, it's about all of us. And this is how we get better. Sharing our stories, sharing our experiences, and doing what's best for all of us as a whole. All right? You guys go out there, you do your best, you stay safe, and be great. Be great.